Okay, this is the part 2 of the video of splitting the 135 Multipower tractor, and you can hear that little dribbling in the background. That's just the coolant draining from the other side still, so it's not me. And, and once again, as we did on the left hand side of the tractor, you draw a line in your mind through where you're going to split the tractor. So in our case it's at the back of the engine here, and later on we do have to take the steering box off and split it at the back of the gearbox, but look, that'll be a separate video. So when we have a look through the line here, there's a lot of stuff in the road, and first up I always like to do this steering arm. So as per the other side, I have a little round disc here, and it looks like I can't fit that disc in. Oh, I might be able to. Look, if I lever it out a little bit, I might just be able to fit that disc. I'll use a shifter to see if there's any flex available in that arm. Oh look, and there is. Must be a little bit of wear in the steering box. This is a power steering tractor. We see the steering hoses here. I'm not sure whether power steering is going to be good for on the road, because we're going to have this tractor fairly hooting along, and with the steering on these tractors it's a little bit vague, I believe. But anyway, we'll see. I'll take it off and put it back to manual if I need to. So look, we start by undoing this nut against that little plate that we put in. And look, put a bit of tension on there, but make sure you still have plenty of thread engaged. Then if we come in here, yeah, that's it. Pull that out, so now we can undo the bolt here, undo the nut I should say. These are quite good steering ends. This fellow I bought the tractor off was a good customer of ours. We call this tractor Fiona. It was his missus's tractor. Right, now I'll try and... Actually, I can't spin that around like normal because the camera's in the way, so we'll just put it down the bottom there for the time being. Now the steering lines are in the road here, so we'll undo those. And look, the order that you do this doesn't matter. Okay, so we have a 9/16 on there. Make sure you support this other fitting so you don't twist the pipe. There's no future in that. And once again, you'll see that there's a cable tie on this, and there's a cable tie on the matching one. So these hoses, you could mix them up. So if they're not undone at that other end, that gives you a quick reference to where you're going with it. A little bit of oil going to drip on the floor, so we'll catch that. I haven't got the tidiest shed around, but I still don't like try and have extra mess that I don't need. So, but anyway, a bit of mess isn't a big deal. They make brooms and things, don't they? That's got red oil in it, and the power steering. There's your power steering pump. And that's actually Dexron 3, probably automatic transmission fluid coming out of there. But look, I've found over the years, automatic transmission fluid is hydroscopic. It absorbs moisture like you wouldn't believe. And so yeah, I've put farm oil, you know, your normal farm oil that you put in the back end of your tractor. I've put that in. So okay, what do we have next? We have an earth lead that's just right in the road here. So we do have to get rid of the starter motor here too, but I'll just see if I can come in. I'm trying not to have me big ugly dial in the bloody picture, so but you're going to have some of that. Oh, get in there. There we go. Lovely. Now that can... We'll just take that right out of the way. It's a fairly heavy terminal, heavy lead, but if you look on the end here, that's a bit agricultural. So new ones going on there. We don't... Not buggering around with all that sort of junk. Nothing worse than getting out on the road. And what you have to understand is, overseas I noticed some of the tractor treks, you know, they're a day run here and a day run there. And look, we do that here too. But September 2020, we're going on a 4-day one. And so we do a lot of kilometres. And you want your tractor very reliable. Reliability is everything. And where we're going for a run, we have to drive, it's only about 3 hours to get there with a tractor on the trailer, but then we'll be on the road doing about 80 to 100 kilometres a day for 4 days. So, okay, this wiring harness with the generator is easy to undo. It's just pull terminals on this, so we pull that back out of the way. The generator is going to be discarded on this tractor, and we're going to put an alternator on, because by the time, if we come in late, normally these are around 11-12 amps. By the time you run 2 headlights, a flashing light that we have to have for rego, and we'll have a phone charger on and a fridge and all that. So by the time we run all that, the poor old Jenny in, it's just not going to cut it. Okay, I'll grab a screwdriver and we'll undo this air cleaner inlet out of the way. Okay, I'm back. You'd think I'd be far more organised than I am, wouldn't you? Anyway, doesn't matter. So if we undo this here, that air cleaner hose is going straight in the bin. These are wire hose clamps. They are a good clamp. They put a nice strong seal on it. I'll probably keep them for one of my show tractors, and we'll put nice full stainless steel ones on here. There's a lot of work coming up for this old girl, so we're going to have some modern touches. It's not going to be anything like a standard tractor. There we go, that's all soft, and there's no holes in it, but you can see there's little fractures in there. I'm not sure if you can see that. There, you can see that there now. So we'll pop that over there for the moment. Deal with that a bit later. Now we have the tacho cable. Comes in from the back. And we should be able to hop in under the dash and give that a little bit of a pull to keep him out of the way. There we go. And look how dry and rusty that is. Actually, that's broken. Should be way longer than that. That doesn't make it to the dash, does it? So there you go. There's the tacho problem. And you'll notice a bit of rust on here too. And look, I often run a bit of moly grease up and down the cables as I fit them. So that's in the bin. Alright, we have a couple of lines crossing here now. We have one hose clamp one with a bit of rubber put on, and that will be the return from the power steering. I'm not sure it would have been like that originally. I don't know. It's something I'll look up. I imagine they would have had a fitting or a solid pipe, and someone's just cut that take a shortcut because the pipe's crooked. There's no way it left the factory being a crooked pipe like that. So wasn't even tight really, but anyway. Now that's the fuel tank in. That's a poly pipe, that one. I might replace that with a rubber and we'll just see. Now the main pressure out of the steering up to the steering control valve is here. Holy dooly. Some big fisted bugger was on there. Wasn't going to come loose anyway, was it? They might have undone this back section too, I don't know. I'll just see if it's any easier. Oh, no. Alright, we'll pop this one up out of the way a little bit. Just to give us a bit of spanner room. 11/16 fits on there, and 5/8 was the joiner. I've just got the camera sitting back so you can just see what I'm doing, and it would just make it such a big job if we zoomed in on every item. The day would be gone and we still wouldn't have the tractor apart. So I thought, well, this will give everyone the idea of what to look for, what to do. Okay, so that pipe's undone, that's a good thing. Now this pipe here, this front one, that can sit down. There is a bracket there to support the pipe, so but look, I'm going to look up the parts book and have a look at that, see what was in there. I just don't think that was standard. Now this pipe here goes round to the fuel filter, and we have that undone at the other end, but I might just undo it out of this end too, just to keep it clear. And also a little bit of junk in there. But this tractor runs really well, doesn't use oil. Like I say, I did my slashing with it for probably 12 or 18 months, just testing it out, seeing what I had after I bought it. And it did run quite well. It did everything it was supposed to do. So I've done the tappets, and I'm going to do the rear engine seal. The front pulley's got a crack in it, so it's going to get a new pulley, but the base engine is not going to get touched. I might just get this out of the way. It's giving me the shits a bit. It feels like that nuts. Bloody holy dooly. Okay, now that's out of the way, in the pot there draining away. Now we have to remove the starter out of the way, so we have to come in up under here. So I may undo this steering pipe out of the way, just so I can get a socket in there and get a little bit more room. And it'd be good to remember what I've done with my spanner. There it is. Stop looking, I got it. That looks like a shift me pot. If we push this one over, that should have just enough room to come out of behind the starter there, so I can get better access to the... There we go, in the pot. They'll all get flushed out. Now this other one, look, I think I'll undo that just to get it out of the way, really. You could certainly do the job by leaving that there, but you can hear that little rattle. It sounds like thunder. That's just the front door of the shed rattling. There must be a little bit of breeze starting outside. I've got to have the door half shut when I have the camera this side, so it just doesn't flare out with the sun coming in the door. So while it's half done, it rattles a bit. I often have it pegged, but I haven't today. There was no wind earlier. Boy, that's tight. But actually I can turn it, but it doesn't want to pull out of the hose. There's a joint about there. Okay. Look, I'll go and we'll cut the video here for a second. I'm only allowed to video for so long and the camera shuts down, so I have to start stopping. So I'll shut it down for a second. I'll go and find the sockets for here, and I might just cut that through on the rubber to get rid of that, and we'll move on. Okay, I've actually cut this hose here through, and when you have a look here, there is a little tail barb there to hold it on. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but there is a little barb there, and that's what was holding it on. So it does have a hose, but there's a little bracket here that looks like it should have a top piece here holding that hose on. So when we redo it, I'm going to bring the hose down here, so where we clamp it, it'll have hose top and bottom, and we'll make a little clamp for that. So this steering pipe can come out of the way. So look, they're all in good condition, no rust or anything like that. Alright, the starter motor. Now the starter has two bolts here and one in the back, and this is the only one with the bolt and nut on it. Now if you undo these first, then you try and hop in the back and undo the back one, well, the starter's hanging and it's all in all sorts of terrible places. So what I always try and do is bring in an 11/16 in. I'll bring it over. That's actually a little universal joint that I have. It's a, I don't know, I think it's a Proto or something, made in the USA, 11/16. I use it for starter motors quite a bit. It seems to work well. Now another good bit of gear is this snap-on pivot head ratchet. You don't need this stuff, but it just makes it a bit easier. So by undoing the back one first, see it's finger tight, you haven't got the weight of the starter hanging on it. There we go, I think that's it. quite a long bolt. Oh, look, we'll get that out. When we loosen this off, it'll just drop, so save mucking around using video time on it. Okay, so now I like to undo this bottom one. Okay, got him loose. You get your favourite spanners, this old kin chrome one. I've had that since my apprenticeship. Nice fat jaws. And I remember buying it at a second-hand shop. It was brand new, they must have bought a few old spanners, so I bought half a dozen different ones, and this one and the 3/4 7/8, and they've stuck with me all the years. Nice wide jaws, very strong, they don't stretch. Good bit of gear. Okay, so now we've got the two studs out, we can pop this fella out. It's loose enough that I can hold it, or else you'd have to have two spanners. Probably because the Multipower was disabled in this tractor reasonably recently. A few things will be a bit easier to use or to get to. There's the starter motor. And there's that bolt from the back. A little bit of red dirt. Volcanic red soil. So that looks a bit more nude, doesn't it? Now in through here, on each side, there's a 3/8 UNF bolt that holds the battery support to this plate here. So we have to undo that. And there is normally, in underneath here, there's a little double hex bolt. And as per just about every tractor you get to, if the tractor's been split, they don't put that back in because it's a bastard to get in, but you should put it in. The tractor's not going to fall apart if you don't, of course, but it's just, you know, why don't you put it in? There's actually one of these on the left hand side I haven't undone either, so. In there. Yep, the one's in the other side, I'll get that. I probably should have done that earlier. Now there's two brackets here that hold these pipes. They're 11/16. They're on the main bolts that go through. So we'll need to address that. So we'll undo the bolts. They have to be undone anyway, these bolts. I might also undo these, I feel, just to take the tension away from everything. But if you haven't got power steering, you haven't got this problem. The other problem you would have though is if you're on a radius rod tractor, you actually have to undo the foot pegs here and undo that to wheel the front axle forward with the radius rods in. You leave the radius rods on, it gives you a good handle to go, but they can if it's quite worn on the front axle, they can flip up and hit you in the chin too. But this is for a straight axle 135. There's a little spacer. You can feel the tension, see that coming out, the tension there? Well, when we go back together, we'll give everything a bit of a twist and we'll make sure there's no tension anywhere. Tension on pipes is just no good. And what I believe, I don't know this, but what I believe is the last time it was split, they undid these bolts and they just reefed that out of the way. And when they've pushed it back in, they've heaved it in there, then popped the bolt in. And so now on, from now on, those pipes have got a unnecessary stress in them, which we don't want. I'll put this back together. And another problem is we have one spacer here that was on the bottom bolt, and I imagine we should have had a spacer on the top one as well, so the bracket doesn't bend where we clamp the pipes. So we might just knock one of them up in the lathe. There is word about these tractors being that sensitive in the steer, and when we get up to 45 kilometres an hour, which we will be doing in this one with its big tyres, that the steering will be a bit wonky, and if it is, we'll just pop him back to playing. Okay, so we've got the bolts undone here. I need to undo the one on the left yet. The 3 bolts here are bolts that actually hold the tractor together. There's 2 here, but then there's a couple down the bottom here. So look, that'll do us for the right hand side. We'll end this video there. The next part of the video will be putting the splitting stands under, where to jack, how to do it safely.